Powerful collaborations, cutting-edge science, and curious minds coming together for a glimpse of the future. Stay tuned as we look at the latest updates on some of the most promising technology projects. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Peter Ballant, and this time we again take a closer look at the ALFA H2020 project. In the first part of this program, we identified ALFA as a project which combines many technologies to be able to detect, classify, and even predict the landing site of illegal aerial vehicles like drones and low-flying small helicopters. As you can imagine, a tool like this could go a long way in securing the European borders against drug smuggling, for example. The success of this project is due to the unwavering efforts of 9 partners from 6 countries across Europe. Today, we are attending a product demonstration. It's a way to bring everyone together to test the various systems as an integrated whole. A proof of concept, if you will. Over the next few days, project partners will test their wares from a makeshift control center, and this is where we caught up with Gilles Prémel-Cabic from THALES in the Netherlands. Let's go inside the ALFA Control Center and talk to Gilles. Thank you for taking a few moments of your busy schedule here to talk with us a little bit about the ALFA project. Can you tell us what's the big idea for ALFA here?
Yeah, ALFA is about protecting European borders, and for this project it's mainly about countering drug trafficking. So the project mainly focused on the detection, tracking, and classification of low-flying air targets. And by these targets, we mean small targets like drones, but also small helicopters and fixed wing. And next to this main activity of detection, tracking, classification, we also try to gain knowledge about the intent of those targets. So where could they drop off something, where could they land?
So this tells me that currently the radar we use today maybe can't see these things. Is that a problem? Is that the issue?
Yeah, actually the radars that Guardia Civil or GNR have in Spain and Portugal, they are mainly focusing on boat at the moment, so they are looking more at surface target. But what we try to do here is to cover then the low-level airspace, so basically under something like 300 meters. So really flying targets.
Okay. So ALFA then is basically detection and categorization, and maybe a little bit about prediction of where these aircraft will land. So what's happening now? So we're on the southern coast of Portugal for 4 days doing this pre-demo. What are you testing? What are you hoping to achieve here?
Okay, we're basically doing 2 things for what I'm concerned. One of the first thing is integration. We have multiple sensors. We have a radar sensor, we have a passive radio frequency sensor, and we have a camera. And these sensors are combined, and that the data that we can measure with these sensors are fused in what we call a data fusion functionality. And from this data fusion functionality, we have those tracks that we can follow, and we try to put a label on them to basically classify which kind of target it is. And then we do a threat assessment. So we basically look at whether we can say whether this target is there for a good reason or for a wrong reason. And from the moment we have a threat assessment done, we can follow this target, try to see where they will land or drop off something.
Okay. So you're developing this technology. And when this is working, then what happens? Who chases the bad guy?
Well, normally this would be operated as a real product by people from Guardia Civil or GNR.
I see. So this technology then gets turned up. This is sort of built for the border patrol or the border police.
That's meant for border control.
Okay. And if this is a complete success here for the next 4 days, what does that look like?
Well, once we test the integration, we've done that before and we're repeating it here in Portugal. Then we also want to collect data. So we have targets of opportunity. Yesterday we saw a jet ski, we can see cars, we can see boats. These targets that we basically are not following but could be confusers for the processing we are doing, especially for the classification. So this is also very important to know, to get to know the environment, what kind of targets we can see in this kind of environment, in order to be able to extract the one that an operator would really want to pick up from the environment. So that's the second part of this experiment here in Portugal. So collect data and being able afterwards in the labs to process this data and to improve the overall system performance.
And your specialty here is the classification of objects found, right?
Yes, I'm very much working on radar classification. So from the radar signal, we got backscattered from this environment and from the targets, especially targets moving. We are trying to extract interesting characteristics. We call that features in the classification world. And from these features, we try to put a label on each target. So basically, tell the operator, here you are dealing with a ship, you are dealing with a car, you are dealing with a helicopter or a fixed wing or a drone eventually. And that's basically the work of classification. We want to know what it is. And one important step we did during the project was to discuss with the end user and to know, what do you want to know? What kind of classes, basically what kind of type of targets you want to be able to recognize. So we discuss different classes that they would be interesting in, and these are helicopters, eventually with a pilot, fixed wing also with a pilot, or small drones.
And does the system get smarter? I mean, does it say, hey, I've seen this before, I know this is a drone, or I know that's a jet ski?
Exactly, that's what we do in the lab. We basically, after collecting data, we process it and we train our classifier. So we try to optimize the performance of the system. By extracting the target characteristics, we are able to find discriminant features in the radar signals or in the video. So you could think very simply of the size of an object as a discriminant feature. If it's very small, it could be a drone, larger, it could be an helicopter. But there are many other different features. One of the features we use is, for example, the Doppler of those targets. But we know from drones, helicopters, or fixed wings that they have also moving parts, which are the propellers or the blades. And these are giving a different Doppler because they are moving at a different speed from the body of those objects. And we call that microdoppler. And we are using these microdoppler characteristics, which are unique for different types of objects, in order to be able to classify them. So a bird would have wings moving in a very different manner than a drone would have his propeller moving.
Okay.
And this we can see in the radar signal.
So the project is almost complete, right? It's scheduled to finish up in October. Are you able to now sort of look back a little bit and say, yeah, these are the weak links, or this is where we had more challenges than what we expected? Can you classify these things?
Yeah, there are very strong things we did and others that we still have to work on. One of the very strong things we did is that we were able, which was not obvious very much at the beginning of the project, we are using surveillance, we are surveying a sector, and we have very little time to look at each target. And doing classification with such a little time appeared challenging at the beginning of the project, but this was finally completed successfully. We are now able to use this very short time to classify each target. That was something really difficult, that appeared difficult at the beginning of the project. But this means that we have been concentrating our effort in detecting what we knew from the end user we should be classifying. Now that we've done this step, we've started looking at also what are other objects, what could be confusing our classifier, and what could give us wrong label on some targets. So we've started to look at what can we find in the environment. And this is something we concentrated basically in the second part of the project, and we have still some effort to do in there to basically, when you have a car on the road or a fisherman on his ship, that we know, okay, these are targets that are not important for the end user. So we are now in the process of putting a label also on these targets which are part of the environment, which we will see with the radar, but we don't want the operator to worry about them.
How close are we to having something that's marketable?
Yeah, so what we are aiming at is a TRL 7. So we've been testing it in a realistic environment. We see that it's working already quite fine. We see some little things that we can improve, but basically the classifier is working already as it should. And one thing it's important to mention, we've been performing several iterations to improve the classifier. So we know also exactly how to do this. And we've chosen some classification technology that is really easily adaptable. That means that we can very quickly, and we are speaking in a week or 2 weeks, we can really quickly adapt things to the classifier and make its performance really good.
Well, it's a very interesting project, and I wish you success for the rest of the project. And hopefully your efforts will be seen in the day-to-day safety of keeping our borders secure.
Thank you very much. I wish so too.
And thank you for taking some time to talk with us today.
It was a pleasure.
Okay.
This podcast has been brought to you by Technicon. The ALFA project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under Grant Agreement number 700002.